Korgen anyuno chep korgen galende ngumbetu. 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 Imando kalende ngumbet, itachi neba mat. Imando kalende ngumbet, emari telalang. Imando kalende ngumbet. Korgen anyuno cheko.
Hello guys, this is Patrick going to write it. Karibuni sana, welcome so much to the channel. Today we are doing an explorative study of one of my books, that is Holiday Upcountry, which has been translated to Likizo Mashambani, and hopefully in a few months time we shall be doing the French copy of this, French translation of this. Holiday Upcountry is an explorative, let me just read it for you. Holiday Upcountry is an entertaining, humorous, educative book. It tells of an explorative childhood experience of Kapelekwa, where Shani spent her April holidays. Never in her life had Shani imagined that there would have come a moment she had to cry that she was leaving Kapelekwa for the city. This, however, she did that day while walking to the waiting car. So it basically opens with Shani and Rosa closing school. They are two pupils, two girls studying in one of the boarding schools in the town area or the city for this moment. Let's just imagine that this is Nairobi city. And so one of the promises they had was that this April holiday they will be going to the upcountry, specifically to Rosa's home, where they'll spend the whole of April holiday. This is one of the first books in a series of books which will be talking about the experiences of holiday sessions in different parts of the country. Let us do justice to the book. Let's have a read for the first chapter. Ura, it was finally here with us. School was closing the next day for the April holidays. Everyone could not hide their eagerness to be home. However, unlike the other holidays, we were a little bit late for our first term holiday. Our class teacher, Miss Melody, had told us that it was due to a government directive that we were closing late. Apart from being happy that I was closing school, something else made me even happier. This was that I was going to spend my holiday at my friend's home. Rosa's home was upcountry, a place called Kapelekwa. Rosa had been my friend since she was enrolled in our school in class 2. So from there you'll be able to read the background of how the two met. Let me show the eagerness of closing school, which is the best day for every pupil and student for that particular matter. Everybody was busy preparing for the lunch. Pupils could be seen washing their clothes while teachers were busy finalizing, marking and preparing our examination results. Rosa had come to my dormitory to help me wash my clothes. We had washed ours over the weekend and it was sort of a return favor. Those who were done with the various courses were playing gaily in the field where joyous shouts could be heard. Some decided to laze around while others were at various rest spots around the school chatting. We were through with cleaning just in time for lunch break. When the lunch break bell rang, every other thing came to a standstill and all roads led to the dining hall. One could see people running without hesitation towards the dining hall. Being a closing day, they prepared us special food, and who could afford to miss such? Rice pilau with meat stew accompanied by a bottle of soda was nothing to play down. We were not going to miss it too, and without further delay, we took our plates and headed to the dining hall alongside a group of girls who seemed not to be in a hurry. At the dining hall, we found the head teacher on duty, Mr Chumba, caning some boys. Without doubt, we could speculate who the boys were. True to our speculation, they were a group of class 7 boys headed by Kiriamiti. Kiriamiti was a nickname given to the boy due to his unbecoming behavior. He was always rude and had nuts to crack. Who hand to him? Something must have been disturbing his life, or adolescence was too much on him. We were informed by our friends that the trio was found scrambling for food. We joined the queue and got our lunch. We had our fullest, to say the least. It was scrumptious. So basically, this was a setting of a closing day in our schools. This was reminiscing, when I was writing this, I was reminiscing the experience I had in Pombo Primary School. But now just that the setup is, this is a city and at a boarding school. But the experience is the same. Chapter 1 closes by Rosa going to Shani's home, where they spend a night before they will leave the next day. Chapter 2 will open at Rosa's home. This is around 8 AM the next day. At first I felt lost. Everything was different from what I was used to back in the city. Slowly I remember that I was in a different place. So this opens up the different setups between the city and the upcountry. And Shani will go through the phase. The first chapter will introduce her just to what the setting is of our upcountry looks like. Different from the city life where there is hustling and bustling, there is cars, there is traffic, there is all that. And people seem to care alone. They care about their own businesses. In an upcountry setup, we have limited enclosures, limited demarcations. People interact freely, people seem to care about one another and all that. So all along, the best points is Shani being introduced to the life of being a hard girl, to the life of knowing how to till. And in fact, Shani is given a portion of land, which at the closing of the book she regrets that all her beans had been hidden by Mzee Kobe, or what it's called tatas. It also reveals of this urge by Shani to write a book. So this is a voice of a writer. She's saying that in the afternoon, when now after playing, after all doing that, she comes back and sits down and says, how can I be able to write the experience of the holiday upcountry? And that is how she culminates into sitting down and explaining or making a reality of the dream of writing a book. And that is why at the end of the book, we are given a platform where she was gifted a publishing contract by one of the publishers that our work had been captured, and it had captured the attention of the editorial board, and they were happy about it. And that is Holiday Upcountry. So basically, the book itself aims at, one, encouraging parents and everyone, or the guardians, to give space for the kids to play. That is one. It aims at opening up the different setups which kids can be exposed to, so that they can explore as many as possible, interacting with different people along the way. Number three, if you read through the book, you realize that there is so many instances where I've been able to make Shani be able to access networks or people who could help her discover the talent of writing and be able to develop it into a book. So basically, it was a message to the parents that in as many places as you can, kindly allow your kids to explore whatever talent they want and help them. The same way the doctor we are talking about in the book is raising Shani and taking the opportunity to meet with the parents of Shani and taking the work that is Holiday Upcountry to an editor to make it a book. That is how the parents should be able to play a role. So as explained, this one has been translated to Likizo Mashambani. So depending on your love, you can do Kiswahili or you can do English, and soon we are doing the French version. It was around 10 o'clock when we set off for a walk around the village. Right at the edge of the hill, we had a better view of the endless extension of land. The farms, tiny paths, walks, homestead and the river all combined to form a beautiful and memorable landscape. As we walked by, I could not help but realize that the way of life at Kapleleko was quite different from the city life. In the village, everyone seemed to know the other, as well as being concerned with what they were going through. They lived as one big family. In the city, I was used to brick walls, unlike in the village where only a few euphorbia plant walls surrounded various homesteads and farms. People interacted with real animals, something the city dwellers could only do through their television sets or through a visit to the park. The hustle and bustle of the city life was replaced by a peaceful and quiet land with a great supply of fresh air.
Tamege.
Habari ya nyumbani?
Nzuri sana.
Habari ya Kapleleko?
Kapleleko wako salama.
Habari wajukuu yangu?
Wako salama sana.
Wanasoma mzuri?
Wanasoma mzuri. Kazi inaendelea vizuri.
Inaendelea mzuri. Na watakia maisha mazuri wajukuu yangu.
Tunashukuru sana.
Sababu tena wajukuu nimewajengea shule.
Ndio.
Mimi nimewasaidia kuwajengea wajukuu shule.
Ndio.
Simungangane mfunze wajukuu.
Sawa, tutafanya vizuri sana. Ndio.
Amuta let down.
Hatutaplay down. Ndio.
Mkingangana hata secondary tutajenga, primary tutajenga, hata secondary tutajenga.
Tutashukuru na tunaomba mingi kuja.
As we walked through the farms, we met various villagers who were happy to see us. Each of them greeted us by hand, and as we expected, all were asking my name. Rosa did most of the talking when I met them, as I was not so much conversant with their dialect. Here and there, we saw farmers engrossed in their various farm activities. Some were tilling the land, others planting, and the early risers were weeding. At the animal farms, preparation of fodder and cleaning the animal shed seemed to be the main activity of the day.
With the explanation that a writer is being inspired when writing or doing anything which is artistic, I want to read this section. It was around 10 o'clock when we set off for a walk around the village. Right at the edge of the hill, we had a better view of the endless extension of land. The farms, the tiny paths, walk, homestead and the river all combined to form a beautiful and memorable landscape. So this is exactly the place where I was thinking when I was doing this particular writing. As you can see, this is the river I'm talking about. We call it River Chesebet. Those are the homesteads. These are the farms. And when you have a look at this section, you can see down there is a lake. That is Lake Solai. That is a hill. When you see at the end, at the farm, Mr. Koech was already halfway through the 8-acre land, submitting to the agitating effect, the plow being pulled by the tractor head. The soil was agitated, dug and overturned in preparation for planting the next day. When I asked why the tractor was not doing the planting, I was informed that first the plowed land will be allowed to breathe and planting was to be done using a hoe. This was to be done the next day. The laborers were busy clearing the remaining bushes at the farm, while others had their attention on the Kogei or the garden, where they were planting beans with the help of pangas. So at the start of chapter 4, we are opening it to the next day. I witnessed the seeds being planted. The laborers, most of whom were from the village youth, had divided themselves into groups. The first group was responsible for digging shallow holes for planting. This they did with the help of ropes and hose. The ropes made it possible to align the holes in rows. The second group placed the correct number of maize and bean seeds in the holes, while the third group covered the holes. Most of us kids will fall on the last group, since we could not be trusted to place the correct number of seeds in the various holes. Once in a while, you will endear yourself to the adults, and if lucky, you are assigned the role of a group 2. So this is basically what happens in our upcountry during the April season, and that is where the setting of this book is. Holiday Upcountry. This is what we do. I'm very sure if you are coming from upcountry, you must have been engaged in such activities. As you can see, the groups are divided as well. Even today, as we play this, we have a group which is dedicated to digging the holes. They are shallow enough to hold the seeds. Then we have the second group who are placing the seeds. and then they're closing it. So this will go on up to midday or 1 p.m. latest. Then we retire for the day. Somewhere there we will show you the porridge if we get the chance, but I think it has been taken care of well. But at least it was a promise. Whenever you are coming as a kid to the farm, you knew that exactly around 11 a.m. there, you'll be getting some very good servings of porridge. You'll go and see how it is made. Otherwise, that is it. So when I shared that after planting, somebody is given a specific job to actually take care of the planted seeds. Somewhere you can use scarecrow and all that, but during the past or even the present, when you have kids around, you can be able to engage them so that they can actually be looking out for the wild animals. As you can see, this is the impact of the wild animals. Number one is a squirrel. You can see here, the missing maize, all the maize line. Same way there, same way there, same way there. This is the impact of now what is called the squirrels. I know most of us know them. You can actually try looking out for a piece, but this one is missing even. This is the impact of having squirrels coming by. If you are not keen, you may find the whole row of the plants is done, is gone. And that is how the impact of wildlife and the human activities are fighting. So chapter 5 starts with the herdsman. In chapter 4 we say that, not chapter 4, chapter 3 we say that the herdsman was to leave for the holiday. So chapter 5 starts with us now taking the responsibility of the herdsman. Kipchumba, the herdsman, was left for his home in preparation for opening of school. It was good practice for him to visit home regularly. That therefore meant that we were to herd for the next 1 week. A herding day started by herdsmen eating to their fill in the morning in preparation for the long day at the pasture land. There was always mursik for them and a warm ugali thanks to the chepkube, a place serving as an extension of the earth where food was preserved to keep it warm. It is a tradition in the Kalenjin community as well as most African pastoralists that the cows should have left the boma by the time the sun is up. Failure to do that and you will receive the wrath of a fussy old man asking you why you were entertaining such an abomination. By 9 in the morning on Monday, we set out for the first assignment. Just like the herdsmen, we took the cattle to the pasture land. But since it was our first day, we were to graze them not far away from home for most of the morning. So thrilled by the events was I, but I remember the mess I landed myself in when I tried whistling like our herdsman. It had started well only to fail midway when the whistling sound disappeared terribly. So you ran all through. The cattle were quite comfortable with the new grazing fields and we did not have a rough time. Kipro was quite adventurous and a lover of nature, and in no time, for those who have not known Kipro, Kipro is brother to Rosa, one of the active characters in the book. Kipro was quite adventurous and a lover of nature, and in no time we were learning the various names of flowers, birds, butterflies and the sort. Kipro will just by the bird's voice identify them. It must have been his wish to be a conservationist of nature, and I just wished he would one day serve in such a field which will appreciate his talent. It was on a Wednesday afternoon while herding when this love for nature would manifest itself further. It was a sultry afternoon and the sun had immobilized most of us. Others were confined to the available shades and most of the cattle were resting lazily. The serenity was suddenly disturbed by a group of boys who were chasing something. We ran to witness what was happening and further elbowing our way through the group. We were able to see it. It was an injured bulbul bird. It had a broken limb and a wing, and therefore too weak to fly. The state of the bird tempted the boys, who were eager to make a quick kill of it. Feeling sorry for the bird, Kipro was quick to cry out to the boys to stop the attempt, which was not easy at all as the boys were baying for the bird's blood. But joining hands together, we managed to save the bird. So if you listen to this, you realize that Kipro, just like his grandfather, was a conservationist by nature. This is a book which was written also to inspire these kids that it is good to be the nature's custodian. It's good to take whatever it is and improve whatever the nature is giving us, so that you avoid killing and maiming birds, maiming animals haphazardly. So as you can see, there is a mention of that every cow has a name, and that is the characteristics. If you are able to capture, if you call out, for example, we have the name of Chemining, we have the name of Regeri. Chemining just means the small one. If you go out, the animals are named after their behavior. Chemining will be the small one. You will find that there is one who is crazy. In fact, these animals are very funny. You will find that one is the leader, and he will even take all the rest to a farm. And that is how you are trained as a kid, as an herder. The story is told of how we ended up being caned. Maybe you can be able to see it over here. I got some few strokes on me as one by one my friends were caught. So the story starts. Shani, run for your life. What happens is that whenever you herd, you normally find yourself you are in groups of herds men or herds boys and girls. So the temptation will be there. In one way or the other, you will start doing some crazy stuff. Some will play mama and papa, call it chap papa and chap mama. Some will go hunting, and in no time you will realize that all the cows are now missing. And that is when now the adults will come in to remind you. So in one of these stories, tells of how, this is 56. On Tuesday, we set out straight to the pasture land where we joined the other herders. That particular day seemed to have been moving slowly, and when Kipro and one boy from the other group suggested that we have an explorative spree, it was more than a welcome idea. We moved around in groups, girls not left out. We were a total of 5 girls, but one was not a fan of walking around doing adventure. The spree started with the looking out for lizards and geckos and became more serious as we searched for hares and other bigger animals. It turned out to be fun, but just when we had captured one hare, unforeseen disaster befell us. We were in the middle of a heated discussion when suddenly Owino, one of the boys we had left behind herding, scared the hell out of us when he ran past us at a terrific speed, panting loudly. Just as I tried digesting what was going on, my friend with a high surge of energy hopped from where they were and sped in different directions. Not even the dogs were spared the ordeal, as they too scampered away. Rosa shouted at me, seeing how confused I was at that moment. "Chani, run for your life," she shouted, herself running as fast as she could. It was then I realized that what had befallen us. Some few meters from me, I saw 3 men who had been in hot pursuit of Owino, and now us. I don't remember how I got the energy to run, but soon I was also flying. However, my speed was not comparable to the 3 men chasing after us, and in a short while, I was caught. Amid sobs of fear, I screamed at the top of my lungs. That will not, however, deter the men who followed to the latter, the biblical teaching that spare the rod and spoil the child. I got some few strokes as one by one my friends were caught. It was only Kipro and the other originator of the idea who managed to escape. What an unfortunate funny deal. The ringleaders escaped while the followers landed themselves in hot soup. Who and to the rest of us, we were taken back to the grazing field where we were paraded and given a thorough beating. It's normal. You find it's even weird that the originators of the idea to go out and about and leave the main activity. At noon, we took our cattle to the river Kaplelekwa, then drove them to the grazing land, far off on the other side of the river. Along the road, I was able to see our farm, the maize then some 30 centimeters in height, swayed greenly in the wind. The heavy rains were a welcome idea to any hardworking farmer, and I just hoped that the harvest would be plentiful to justify all the sweat and the time being spent on the farms. So basically, this is what inspired this that section. This is the river we were swimming. We call it Chesebet River. Unfortunately, it's a seasonal river, and We have not had quite some plenty of rain, but you can see when it is full to the brim, it is dangerous by all means. But on the other hand, we could get some section where we could swim. And if this was a normal location, we would be sure enough to get about 5 or 10 boys swimming at that end. But as kids, this is where we used to graze. On the other hand, we had not tilled all this land that time. We graze on the other hand, then in the afternoon we'll bring it on this, across this other side of the river. That is why you could have such a setting of grazing in the morning on one end, and then in the afternoon on the other hand. At this time of the year, this place was quite very different. But I think the seasons have changed. That's why we are seeing such a scenario. Chapter 3. It was dawn. My watch showed the time was 6:15. The combined effect of the crowing cock and the various birds singing around the house woke me up. I was beginning to study myself from my sleep when I was disrupted. "What are you up to this early?" Rosa asked me on waking up from her sleep. "I want to see what happens in the morning," I answered plainly. "It's too early, Shani," she said in a near whisper. "Go back to sleep," she insisted, on covering me up. It was futile of her to try stopping me because I was determined to stay awake. Our discussion was cut short by some movements and noises. I least expected them, and it sent me shivering. Rosa came to my rescue when she explained that the sounds were from the herdsman picking his tools from the posse or firewood stack. So this is basically what happens in the morning. At 5:45 a.m. I wondered loudly. It was true as said. The herdsman soon was busy on his job milking the cows. I walked over to see how he did manage to do that, and I was amazed watching him milking the cows by hand. The sight took me back to school when we were being taught about milking machines. Interestingly, the cows could identify the milking man. Having been satisfied with what I had seen, I went back to my room. Along the way, I met Kipro and Kipkurui, ready with their tools going to milk the goats. I asked them if the milk was fit for human consumption, and they answered in the affirmative. They were, however, on that day milking it for the little puppies and kittens. So this is what happens in the morning. This is what is called the stack. In Kalenjin we call it kose. It's basically a collection of the firewood which has been collected over time. It's a reserve so that you don't mess yourself when it's raining. I joined Mrs. Rotich Rosa's mother in the kitchen. She was startled but happy to see me. She must have seen the curiosity in my eyes. I did not blame her anyway. Rosa had told her that I was always curious. The crackle of the firewood on the hearth as it burnt was a clear indication that soon we will be having our breakfast. "Do you know how to prepare tea?" she asked me. "I'm not so sure," I answered. "Why? Have you ever had a chance to prepare it?" she continued. "Not really. You know, back at home we use electric cooker and at times gas cookers, which are both dangerous and hence we are not given access to them." I tried to explain myself. "I get you, Shani," she said, patting me on the head. "What is that?" I asked, looking at some black objects hanging from the rafters. "Oh, you must be talking about those," she said, pointing at them. "Yeah," I nodded. "Those are preserved maize. We do pick the best breed during the harvesting season and preserve them by smoking. That way, we are able to deal with the pests, which are a big trouble for us. We will sow this tomorrow, and by the end of 3 days, they will be happy," she said. The tea was now starting to boil. It was enough to serve the whole family to their satisfaction. I saw her pick some fruits resembling strawberries and put them into the boiling tea. I wondered whatever those were, and I think she must have seen me look at her in wonderment. "I want to prepare special tea today. This is a medicinal plant which, when added to the tea, produces the same effect to what the chapashoka does. Do you want to taste one of the fruits?" she asked as she extended one of them. This is basically that tree I'm talking about. I don't know the specific English or the scientific name. Maybe I have to look at it. But in Kalenjin we call it kokiande. This is medicinal, and whenever you want to add aroma in your tea and make it taste like what you call the chapashoka. This one works. You can use the leaves, or as well you can use the seeds. In the evening, we help the mother milk the cows, and later on I help Nelly prepare supper. Though I was not so much efficient, I was able to do some little milking as well as prepare food. My only challenge was that I did not possess enough energy to turn the milk during the cooking process. Nevertheless, I pride myself to having prepared the best vegetables that day. Reflecting back to that day, I realized that I had grown in the ways of the village. Of much importance was my ability to prepare mursik, which is a process one cannot learn before first learning how to prepare the gourd. Both cleaning and preparing a gourd was a preserve of recent view. Before milk was poured in the gourd to ferment, the gourd was first treated using charcoal from a special tree. We call it ite. These trees were specific and very essential, and at rare times were children allowed to pick them. After treatment, the milk will be poured into the gourd when cold and already pasteurized. The milk was then left to ferment for at least 3 days. When milk had been exhausted from the gourd, cleaning was done using a special kind of a tree called sosionde. The gourd had to be cleaned thoroughly, and Rosa's mother used to always inspect and ensure they were. Preparation of a gourd was a long process, taking up to 2 months. The gourd was plucked when ripe from its mother plant. This was then carefully cut at the top to give way for further preparation. Water was poured into the newly cut gourd through the opening. The gourd was then left to soak for about 1 week so as to remove all the inner matter. When all the inside matter had been removed, the gourd was then dried, and I was not able to see all the process as it took a long time for it to dry. But Miss Koech told me that when it had dried enough, it will then be ready for decoration, which involved fixing the handle and closing lid to it. This will then be treated with the embers of the special tree to sweeten it, and from there it will be ready for use to store milk. It was a delicate process, as any mistake along the way could easily lead to a fatal food poisoning. We are lucky. We have some mushroom here. So when you read Holiday Upcountry, you will get a section where I said that one day in the evening we were able to see those flying termites. When it rains, we have the termites. I'm lacking the exact name. Who flew or who comes out during the night. When they fly around, they go to where we have the lights, and they feel trapped there. But in the morning, you will find them partnered. You will find the male and the female. They are going along, and what normally happens, they go somewhere, they hide themselves in the ground, and after maybe a week or 2, we have the mushroom. So we believe that this is the results of their death. So basically, as we are lucky today, we'll have to hit this. So these are some very good meal for those of us who have not had the opportunity to go to the village setup. I know you have heard about mushrooms. You can plant them on a commercial aspect, but for us in the village, we have this natural delicious mushroom. At noon, we took our cattle to the river Kaplelekwa, then drove them to the grazing land far off on the other side of the river. Along the road, I was able to see our farm, the maize then some 30 centimeters in height, swayed greenly in the wind. The heavy rains were a welcome idea to any hardworking farmer, and I just hope that the harvest will be plentiful to justify all the sweat and the time being spent on the farms. So basically, this is what inspired this that section. This is the river we were swimming. We call it Chesebet River. Unfortunately, it's a seasonal river, and we have not had quite some plenty of rain. But you can see when it is full to the brim, it is dangerous by all means. But on the other hand, we could get some section where we could swim. And if this was a normal location, we will be sure enough to get about 5 or 10 boys swimming at that end. But as kids, this is where we used to graze. On the other hand, we had not tilled all this land at that time. We graze on the other hand, Then in the afternoon, we'll bring it on this, across this other side of the river. That is why you could have such a setting of grazing in the morning on one end, and then in the afternoon on the other end. At this time of the year, this place was quite very different. But I think the seasons have changed. That's why we are seeing such a scenario. Good. Hata tuko na bahati sana tumepata mzee. We'll be reading chapter 6 on this hand. This is a story, this is a section which talked about us going, that is Rosa going to Grandpa's place with Shani. They spend about 3 days there, and various activities are ongoing there. So at least leo tuko na mzee who can be able to, by the way, this is my father, for those of us who don't know him. When I was watching about our grandfather, I was thinking about now the father of my father. And basically this is a reflection of the reality. So we set off on Sunday afternoon to Grandpa's home for a 3 days visit. Rosa's father had promised to drop us by, but unfortunately when we came back from church we did not find him, and we were informed that there was an emergency in the hospital which had forced him to rush back to Chemosi town. With us, we carried lots of shopping and food stuff. It was a norm when visiting someone around the place. It was a big day for me, given how much I was looking forward to the day we could visit Grandpa. Each day Rosa used to tell me how she had fun while there, and for sure I had been so anxious to get the experience firsthand. So let us jump to this section of this gentleman known as Kabuti. Back to the young boy who was in trouble. His name Kabuti. He hailed from the neighborhood and had been on a hunting spree when they found themselves in trouble. After killing several birds and lizards, they were taking an afternoon nap under one of the big trees scattered in Grandpa's farm when one of the boys discovered a bird nest inside a tree trunk. Common to boys his age, they were soon cutting out the chunks of the tree trunk in pursuit of the unlucky bird. Unknowingly, they were destroying the trees in the process. Grandpa, who was at home, was quick to respond when he heard someone cutting down his trees. A staunch lover of nature and a conservationist, anyone must have known what transpired within him. The boy's friends managed to escape, but not he. He had to pay the price in their place, like we had done when we left the herds roaming a week before. Who is here with us? Grandpa asked when he saw us. It is your young Masuja. When Kiproko sang a hearty laughter, answered Kiproko sang a hearty laughter. Grandpa was fond of calling us his young Masuja, when in real sense should have been the Kiswahili term Mashuja, which meant heroes and heroines. Kijana unaweza enda, he said in broken Kiswahili to mean the boy could go. This is said after realizing that Kabuti was still there, glued to the ground. So let us start from that section. As you can see, if you can see the background of this is full of trees. Unfortunately, we have cut down this for farming. If you could get a one-on-one with my grandfather, you will realize that he was so fond of conserving the trees. Maybe we can get an experience and a conversation from Dad. Tell us about Grandpa. Why was he so much conservationist? How did he learn this?
Grandpa was a conservationist. He loved cows, he loved trees, and he loved neighbors. Trees, they can be used for charcoal, for cooking, for cows. When the drought comes, trees, I don't know, in Kiingereza, musue is good. Musue, when droughts come, you can cut musue and cows can eat. Okay? You can cut musue to build. So, Grandpa was very strict. If you can cut a tree without his permission, you could pay. We could cut without his permission, but we used to ask her if you wanted to cut a tree. unamuomba, you request him to give you.
Na sasa nikuulize,
Yeah.
Is it one of the reasons mbona sasa sahi hatuna maji kwa hii river? Ni mambo ya
Hatuna
kukata
maji
miti.
kwa hii river because when grandpa goes, you and my brothers and you and your brothers, you came to cut these trees. Hey, this, look, they came to cut these trees. These trees were big. There were many trees here. But when my grandpa, you and your brothers and my brothers, we cut these trees for a charcoal. You destroy it. This will become a desert. This will come. There's no water because you have cut these trees. There's no water. This is a river. This river was flowing, but now is it flowing?
As you can see, I think sasa unaona mpaka mzee ameanza kuchacha kabisa kwa sababu amekasirika. Nataka utuambie hadithi fulani hapa mbele. Nimesema kwamba there was one day while at the house, it was afternoon about 3. Tumerudi malishoni, tumepeleka mbuzi, that is Shani and Rosa. Then it rained heavily na kukakuwa na radi, lightning, for those of us who are not conversant in Kiswahili. Then Grandpa told us something about lightning, that it is a respected call of nature. It's a respected item which could separate a lot of things. Can you tell us what you believe in?
I'm very sorry to say that. Lightning is something which God can send to you. If you steal somebody's property, God can send lightning to your house. If you steal somebody's land, dispute, you say this is my land, the other one says this is my land. God can send lightning to separate that land. So, don't steal.
Na ni kweli mzee kwamba hata kama ungeiba, let's say mbuzi, na wafungie kwa nyumba, radi
ingetoka kwa hiyo nyumba. Radi, if you steal and you keep in the house, the lightning will come and they can throw them out. And those wenye walikuwa wameiba, radi,
Mr. Tortoise, some call it tatas. So this is the closing of my chapter 7, which is the ending chapter of Holiday Upcountry. It closes in a very awesome style. When we came back home, I rushed to the farm only to find the disappointment of my life. Truly, there is always a low moment for everyone. About half of my small farm had been destroyed by a tortoise. What a bad ending for me. The way I loved my beans, I just found myself breaking down in tears. It was only some 2 days left. I spent most of the time doing the last touches. I could not play so much with my friends as I had an injury to the nurse. Luckily, Rosa's dad had plenty of drugs in supply for me. I lazily walked around the tracks in company of Kipro to bid the place goodbye. I felt like thanking everyone in person. The walk was, however, short-lived given my condition. So this is Mr. Tortoise, or Mr. Tatas. The way they hit our beans, they are very strong, these guys. You may see them, but we call them Jepkoigoite, Mwenda Pole. And that is our tortoise. You can see at least it is calm now. It's natural. So let us close the book. The read up of the last portion. The day had come and I had to leave. When I walked to the waiting car, I felt something in my heart. A holiday break at the upcountry was a great thing for me, and I was going to miss everything. I had never anticipated the holiday session could have had such a mark in my life. The memories I made there, the moments I spent, bit by bit, added to each other to make a long, strong tug to my heart. I suddenly felt I was leaving a part of me and I could not help but try. Each moment echoed something in me, a yearning to do it, but because everything with a beginning has an end, I had to be contented. It was the happiest time of my life, a special getaway to escape the hustle and bustle of city. I packed the cowpeas which I had picked from my farm in the car, but in my mind I kept asking myself, will I ever be that writer? And that is the end of our series, Holiday Upcountry, a story of Shani and Rosa. Thank you so much for having joined me in this journey. We welcome you to the sequels of this Holiday Upcountry. Keep it in touch and subscribe. Thank you so much.